Reporting from Ukraine update. This is day 626 of the war in Ukraine. Russian forces launched a third wave of their offensive operation in the Avdiivka direction, sending in 2 new brigades totaling around 8,000 troops. Ukraine tried to reduce Russian forces before they reached the front lines by targeting armored vehicles and artillery systems. Videos show successful strikes. Russia is using overwhelming troop numbers to try to secure territorial gains even with high casualties. Russia managed to accumulate enough infantry to launch an attack on the village of Stepove. Early Russian claims said they entered the settlement, but their assault force was decimated. Ukraine cleared the village of the scattered Russian remnants with infantry and drones. Russia sharply increased the number and intensity of attacks, signaling the start of the third offensive wave. Russia had around 1,130 troops neutralized and wounded in the last day, with up to 800 from the Avdiivka area alone. Russia has 40,000 reserve troops for the Avdiivka operation. At the current rate of losses, they will run out in less than 3 months. The United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense latest intelligence update on Ukraine, November 12, 2023. Large parts of the Wagner Group private military company have been incorporated into Russia's National Guard and resumed recruitment. This Wagner arm is likely led by Pavel Prigozhin, son of the late Wagner owner Yevgeny Prigozhin. Other Wagner fighters have joined another Russian private military company called Reddit, which now has around 7,000 personnel. On the 1st of November, Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov said Wagner medics had joined Chechen Special Forces. On the 25th of October, he said 170 ex-Wagner fighters joined these forces. The Russian state is exerting more direct control over Wagner activities and former personnel after the Wagner mutiny in July 2023 and leadership deaths in August. Ukraine Matters Update. Russia is recalling military equipment from allies like Egypt as they need resources for the war in Ukraine. Ukraine can target Russian bases with their own domestically produced missiles. They were a major weapons producer in the Soviet Union despite recent corruption issues. The war is intense with constant activity, battles, ambushes, etc. across the front, even if they are not all reported in the news. It's unlikely Russia could capitalize militarily on taking Avdiivka, given how much they have expended trying to encircle it so far unsuccessfully. The key to winning the war is presenting the enemy with dilemmas, not just problems that can be solved. Effective use of scale and appropriate technology is also critical. EU should develop mechanisms to remove member states that become undemocratic after joining. The Institute for the Study of War Russian Offensive Campaign Assessment. Ukraine appears to be intensifying attacks against Russian military, logistics, and other high-value targets in occupied areas of Ukraine and in Russia itself. On November 11th, Ukrainian partisans attacked a Russian military headquarters in occupied Melitopol, killing at least 3 Russian Federal Security Service, FSB, and National Guard officers. This follows other recent attacks by Ukrainian partisans and forces, including an attack against a former Luhansk separatist leader on November 8th, strikes against a Russian base in occupied Skadovsk and Black Sea Fleet assets in Crimea on November 9th, 3 rear area strikes and partisan attacks in Russia on November 11th. Since summer 2022, Ukraine has conducted a campaign of strikes specifically targeting occupied Crimea. The Institute for the Study of War key takeaways today. The Russian government is trying to downplay its efforts to tighten control over Russian media and information spaces. Russia continues to portray itself as a key security provider for authoritarian regimes in Africa. Russian forces carried out limited missile strikes in southern Ukraine on November 12th. Russian troops continued offensive operations along the Kupiansk-Kreminna line, near Bakhmut, near the Donetsk-Zaporizhia border, and in western Zaporizhia. Ukrainian forces made gains on the southern bank of Kherson Oblast on November 12th, amid ongoing ground operations. Jake Bro Update. November 11th marked the 1-year anniversary of Ukraine liberating the city of Kherson from Russian occupation. President Zelensky thanked the warriors who made this possible. Russia is saving up missiles and drones to target Ukraine's energy infrastructure this winter, depriving civilians of electricity, heat, and water. This is considered a war crime. Ukraine is threatening to attack Russia's oil and gas infrastructure if Russia ramps up attacks on Ukraine's electric system. This could raise global energy prices and risk losing Western support. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson sent representatives home early despite having little time to avert a government shutdown. so he could give a speech in Paris. This signals he may not prioritize keeping the government open. Around 10,000 Russian soldiers have been neutralized in the last month trying to capture Bakhmut. Putin wants a victory there for political reasons before the March presidential elections. A Russian commander in occupied Berdyansk shot and neutralized one of his own soldiers. Other soldiers reported this out of fear they could be next. Over 30,000 Ukrainian soldiers have received training in the UK. Germany announced doubling military aid to Ukraine from 4 billion to 8 billion euros. Ukraine's Armed Forces General Staff update. It is day 627 of Russia's attempted invasion of Ukraine. There were 61 combat engagements over the past day. Russia conducted missile, air, and artillery strikes across Ukraine, resulting in civilian casualties and infrastructure damage. Fighting continues in eastern and southern Ukraine. Ukrainian forces repelled multiple Russian attacks near various towns and villages. Russia is mobilizing residents in occupied areas like Stepove to join the Russian armed forces. Mobilized residents are being sent to Russia for training. Ukraine conducted air strikes, missile strikes, and air defense actions against Russian forces. Ukrainian strikes hit ammo depots, troop concentrations, etc. Ukraine continues offensive operations in the south towards Melitopol and in the east near Bakhmut. Ukrainian forces are inflicting losses on Russian occupiers. Russia maintains forces along the borders and continues reconnaissance and shelling from its territory in the north.